Welcome to my World History Notes, where I read from the book that I wrote to teach homeschoolers world history. A Bible believer looks at world history. You may not agree with my conclusions, but you should at least know about the topics, events, and people and places that I'm discussing, be conversant in world history, and much more than I've laid down in this survey course. So we're going to begin. We're still talking about the Greek world, and I'm going to talk about, according to legend, one of Thebes' aristocrats or ruling class was Amphitryon, whose wife Alcmene had an affair with Zeus while her husband was away at war, resulting in the birth of the hero Heracles. In Latin, it's Hercules. Zeus's wife Hera sent two serpents to kill the child, and Heracles, or Glory of Hera, strangled them both. Linus, not Snoopy's Linus, but one of the oldest names in music, tried to teach him the lyre, a stringed instrument, or lyre, a stringed instrument. But he didn't much like music, so he killed Linus with it. He then killed a lion with his bare hands, married Cleon of Thebes' daughter, Megara, and had some children. Hera sent madness upon him, and he killed his own children. He then consulted the oracle at Delphi, and following orders, went to serve the king of Tiryns for 12 years, performing 12 labors, joining the Argonauts who searched for the supernatural golden fleece, sacked Troy, helped the gods fight the giants, freed Prometheus, who gave men fire, brought Alcestis back to life, and occasionally killed his own friends by accident. After his death, he was worshipped as a god, and several tribes claimed he was their originator, apparently due to his fundamental lack of morals. His descendants were supposed to have conquered Greece, ending the age of heroes. Okay, now back from mythology to earth. There are some ancient historians who claim that the legend of Heracles was a reworking of the stories of both Jonah and Samson. Aristotle, in his Metaphysics, chapter 8, claimed that the origins of Greek religion and philosophy had been lost and much was added to it for political purposes, said Polybius. A Bishop Horsley, according to writer E.W. Bullinger, traced virtually all Greek mythology back to the Hebrew Bible. Aratus, a statesman biographed by Plutarch in his Lives, who chronicled the constellation of Hercules in the 3rd century BC, wrote about Hercules standing on the coiled serpent's head. Read Genesis 3:15 and Romans 16:20. As I said earlier, Achaean Greece was, as well as Mycenaean Greece, can hardly be discussed outside of references to Homer's works. The Achaean Greeks are called the Greeks of the heroic age, and some historians say that Homer himself is a myth. So to categorize things in a way that makes sense, let me say that we first have the civilization of ancient Crete that moves to mainland of Greece, perhaps after the fall of the palace at Knossos. The Mycenaeans, who inherit this wasted civilization, the Achaeans who overrun them and are less civilized than they are, and the Dorians, who are the lowest of the lot, who invade and conquer the Achaeans. After the Dorians conquer, the historians create a dark age, as the evidence found does not fit their dating methods, which presume that the dating of Egypt is fixed and absolute and inerrant, although I suspect few would actually admit that. A self trained historian like the renegade Velikovsky, in his book Ages and Chaos, called into question the traditional thinking. One of the products of this curiosity is what is called new chronology today. Once again, dates of ancient historical events are not all agreed upon by any means. Let it also be said that from reading Durant, it is hard to tell if the conquerors of Troy were Mycenaeans or Achaeans. Burns in Western Civilizations defines a Mycenaean age and a dark age of 300 years. the excuse me, the Achaeans were ruled by the family and in times of crisis were controlled by the clan or genos. The small fortress or citadel which protected the chieftain was the center and beginning of the city, the source of law and order. When something had to be done, the free males were called to an assembly where a proposal was made and debated and where persuasive speeches could be made to sway the vote one way or the other. The clan chiefs would all allow the strongest clan chief, who would be a king, um, follow the strongest clan chief, who would be a king. Those chieftains nearest the king would be called the king's companions, and that was done through Philip of Macedon and Alexander the Great's time. When the king's rule was hereditary, he could be deposed by the bull or council composed of important members or nobles of the tribes. The nobles exercised freedom of speech and addressed the king as a peer who may only temporarily be in charge. Out of this eventually came the constitutions and parliaments of the Western world. The king equips his people with weapons, leads them in war, and more importantly, is the high priest of all religion. Here, as in Rome, Persia, Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt, the supreme leader has a supreme religious function as well. Sometimes there were two kings, one having the religious function. Church and state were very rarely, if ever, separate in history. The United States is one of those unique experiences where religion was not meant to be upheld or religious dogma enforced by the political leadership. Otherwise, as in so many countries throughout history, there would be an official religion and all others were practiced, if at all, at the mercy of the state religion. We're going to talk about the Dorian Invasion next, and we'll stop there. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you come to your own conclusions about history by studying it.